Mr. Anil Nandlall, Honorable Attorney General.
On the 14th, on the 14th of November this year, we will be celebrating Diwali. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it is a pleasure for me to stand
Honorable
here
Member,
this
did you say
afternoon.
14th of December?
14th of November, sir.
Okay.
14th of November, we will be celebrating Diwali. Sir, sir, it is a pleasure for me to stand here
Sir, let me
this
just interrupt
afternoon.
you. Sir, let me interrupt you one more time. You said the 14th of November.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a very auspicious day. It's going to be my 60th birthday. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, sir. Happy
I'm
birthday
sorry, I
for
was
now,
just
sir.
kidding. I'll be 65 and a pensioner.
Once you stay away from certain members of this house, you will remain strong and healthy. Sir, permit me to add to the echo of congratulations extended to you for your most deserving election as Speaker of the National Assembly. And permit me also, sir, to welcome all the new parliamentarians who have been conferred with the honor and dignity of serving the people of Guyana in this August Assembly. Mr. Speaker, it is no secret that our journey here was not an easy one. And it is necessary for posterity that we must record certain important events that led us to be here. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the other side and I've heard the many references from the Bible. So I know that they know about Moses and his 40 days on the mountain top. Well, Mr. Speaker, perhaps it is serendipity that we are meeting here because we spent our 40 days here fighting for democracy. This is our Mount Sinai, Mr. Speaker. And we had the fortune of having on our side and on the side of the people of Guyana over 100 countries as we tried desperately and successfully in the end to navigate our country away from the destructive path that they wanted to take it. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we record on the Hansard the contributions that certain persons and governments made to the democracy of this country. Mr. Speaker, we have today in our country the privilege of hosting the Secretary of State of the United States of America, Mr. Michael Pompeo, a champion of Guyana's democracy. We want to thank the British government. We want to thank the Canadian government. We want to thank the Caribbean leaders, the Honorable Mia Motley, the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, the Honorable Owen Arthur, the Honorable Bruce Golding, the Commonwealth, the OAS, the United Nations, the Carter Center, and of course all the democratic-minded persons of this country that saved this country from total disaster. Mr. Speaker, I have heard, unfortunately, mentioned in this House, this government being described as fraudulent. And Mr. Speaker, permit me to remind you and also place on the record of this House that the elections were held on March the 2nd, and every single vote was recounted by an agreement, and that recount was verified and certified as free and fair. And that process, Mr. Speaker, was ruled upon by the Caribbean Court of Justice as legitimate and constitutional.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Mr. Nandlall, Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
Standing
you
order
don't-
41-2, sir.
Hold on a second. Hold on, please, members. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal, there's no need to repeat in a very loud voice over and over. Remember, we're operating electronically. I have to unmute my microphone before I can speak. So it does take a little while and a delay.
I'm guided,
Go
sir.
ahead, Mr. Mahipal. State your point of order.
I'm guided, sir. Standing order 41-2. I remember when I was about to speak on the recount, you guided me that it's sub judice, so I'm seeking the honorable member to also be guided the same way. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Member, I think I did speak in terms of the case in court. The recount is a different issue, right? When we were talking about the case in court to determine legitimacy. Honorable Member, Mr. Attorney General, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Sir, and the recount process was examined and ruled upon and pronounced to be constitutional and legal by the highest court of this land. As a result, the election results were declared by the Guyana Elections Commission, and the Chancellor of the Judiciary administered the oath of office to His Excellency Mohammed Irfan Ali, declaring him the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And I take great umbrage, Mr. Speaker. I take great umbrage on this current government being described as fraudulent in this House. And Mr. Speaker, I ask you, being the one in charge of this assembly, not to desecrate the record of this assembly any further. And I ask you to take objection to any time that adjective is used in this House to describe the PPP civic administration. Mr. Speaker, from the beginning of these debates, we in this House and the Guyanese public have been fed with that well-known diet from APNU AFC, of platitudinal rhetoric and sanctimonious outpourings of their great performance in office. We heard of the hypocritical illusions of a good life, similar to their hollow and fallacious campaign themes, such as honesty and decency, and their fabled and fanciful decade of development, all being warped fabrications of their fertile imagination. Fortunately, Mr. Speaker, action speaks louder than words, and the Guyanese and the Caribbean people, and indeed the entire world, have seen this motley crew on display, not only since 2015, but moreover from the 3rd of March 2020. As a result, it is difficult for anyone to take any of you seriously over there. I therefore, Mr. Speaker, will not consume valuable time in traversing their submissions made in this House. But only for the record, I will remind that the Guyanese people that when the APNU AFC took office, they did so upon a platform that was as unprecedented as it was historic, even dreamlike. They took office on the heels of the largest discovery of the highest quality of crude ever found in this part of the world, a staggering 8 billion barrels of oil, which immediately converted every Guyanese and their unborn grandchild into a multimillionaire. That is what you inherited. That is the platform that you took government on. And it is recorded here in Forbes magazine in an article. And Mr. Speaker, by July 2020, By July 2020, due to their conspiratorial and relentless efforts to massacre democracy, they pushed the nation state of Guyana agonizingly close to the precipice of total collapse and utter destruction. It took the combined efforts of 100 countries worldwide to navigate the ship of Guyana from those tumultuous waters back to the safe harbor of democracy and the rule of law. And I am pleased that the ship of Guyana is now firmly under the stewardship of the PPPC administration as she begins to chart her new voyage to become the new Dubai of the world. The new Dubai of the world. This is what the international press is publishing about Guyana now. September the 4th, Guyana hails as the new Dubai of the hemisphere. The new Dubai of the hemisphere, bringing it back from total destruction that you are taking it on. Mr. Speaker, the 2020 budget is merely the first intake of fuel for that ship of Guyana as it begins to chart this new course. That is why this budget is presented under the theme, Our Plan for Prosperity. It is part of that map that will guide the ship of Guyana to that majestic destination. Someone from the other side said that we must situate this budget in its proper context. I agree. This budget is unique in many respects, and we must put it in context. For almost half of the monies budgeted here have already been spent by the APNU AFC. And I dare say illegally so, in violation of the Constitution and the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, and without any parliamentary scrutiny. Most importantly, there is no evidence to show how it was spent. What did you do with $160 billion? What did you do with it? You below it. Ask your grandparents what I mean. Mr. Speaker, part of the theme under which this budget is presented is strengthening democracy and the rule of law. This is not a usual thematic language of any budget, but it was used here because context is important. No one can doubt that this budget came after 5 years of a style of government by the other side that constantly plays democracy and the rule of law upon trial. No government in the English-speaking Caribbean since independence has been found guilty more times by the judiciary of violating its constitution and trampling upon the rule of law than the APNU AFC from 2015 to 2020. The unconstitutional journey began just after the first week in government. Just the first week in government, on the 28th day of May 2015, Minister Simona Brooms wrote a letter upon the instruction of President Granger directed to the Public Service Commission to halt promotion. That letter was quashed by Chief Justice Chang on the 24th of June 2015 as unlawful, unconstitutional, and in violation of Article 226 of the Constitution. That is how the abuse of the Constitution began, and it never stopped until they left office in August 2020. This runaway train smashed into the Constitution and attempted to wreck the rule of law on repeated occasions over the next 4 years. The Ministry of Housing seized people transported and title core homes. The court ruled that they violated constitutional right to property. President Granger revoked over 50 rice farmers' leases in Region 5. The court ruled that the president violated the Constitution. The Honorable Mr. Harmon wrote a letter on behalf of President Granger directing the Police Service Commission to halt promotion. The court ruled that they violated the Constitution. President Granger attempted to seize Red House from the Cherry Jagan Research Institute and revoked a 99-year-old lease. The court ruled ruled that he violated the Constitution. The President refused to constitute the Judicial Service Commission after it expired in 2017, again violating the Constitution. The President summoned the Chairman of the Public Service Commission and requested that he resign, again violating the Constitution. The Attorney General threatened the sitting judge during the hearing of a High Court case, again threatening the Constitution. President Ranger unilaterally appointed a chairman to GCOM, again violating the Constitution. When the government was defeated by a no-confidence motion in December 2018, they violated the Constitution by Cabinet refusing to resign and by refusing to hold an election within 3 months. In fact, they refused to recognize the validity of the no-confidence motion. The case went all the way to the CCJ, where they embarrassed every Guyanese on a global stage by arguing that 33 is not a majority of 65. Then they tried to remove tens of thousands of registered electors from the voters list in order to deny them their right to vote. Again, the judiciary was forced to rule that they violated the Constitution. This is the law school. This is the book. 5 years. For 5 years. And with the power of the state, you couldn't take it back. Grow up here. Grow up here and come for it. Come for it. Come for it, grow up here. Come. Mr. Speaker, but what was most egregious about their abuse of the rule of law is the way they used it as a weapon in their attempt to destroy the reputation, the character, and the lives of young professionals that have served the people of Guyana faithfully and discharged the mandate of their office. Young Dharamlal, Siraj, Ashley Singh, Brassington, all are outstanding public servants, educated people, university graduates, and you tried to make them criminals by using your power of the state. And I say to you today that the law is the greatest creation of mankind. And when you abuse the law will deal with you, and that is why you're on that side. It's the law that puts you on that side. And let me assure you, we will not persecute. We will not destroy people's character. Yes, we will charge. We will charge those who have committed offenses, but not innocent people. You tried to destroy the lives of young professionals, and the law put you on that side. Mr. Speaker, we come to March the second elections, an election that they were forced to hold in the first place, and which was held 1 year late. An election that they first claimed that they won, but which they subsequently tried to rig. And after that failed, they spent the next 5 months trying to deny great and render those elections incredible and fraudulent. During this period, the world witnessed 5 months of an admixture of manifest vulgarity, rank fraud and trickery, a series of nonsensical litigation, vitriolic abuse of the diplomatic, regional and international community, non-stop comical propaganda, a mountain of the most asinine political argumentations, and veiled and also veiled threats of violence and thuggery. It was an unparalleled melee of madness never witnessed in the Western Hemisphere. That is what you subject this country to. Expectedly, it ended the careers of many, but it should have ended the careers of all involved. Unfortunately, vestiges remain with us here today and want to lecture us and the Guyanese people about democracy and the rule of law. The audacity of you people. The audacity of it all. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Legal Affairs has been dormant, for the past 5 years. The Honorable Bishop Edgell said it in his budget. He said this: from all indication, the Attorney General Chambers and the Ministry of Legal Affairs was demonstrably dormant for 5 years. Basil is not here. Clear evidence that it was dormant. He's still dormant. Basil Williams is still dormant. Apart from a few anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism bills, which were hastily enacted in the late 2015 and early 2016, there were no major legislation passed. Even those AML-CFT bills were drafted during the PVPC administration, but which the APNU AFC used their one-seat majority to vote down during the 10th Parliament of Guyana. The ministry began to administer $8 million USD in the Inter-American Development Funded Support Program for the criminal justice system in 2017. This program was treated like a kept secret, as neither the opposition in Parliament, important stakeholders in society, nor the ordinary Guyanese knew what it was, until I made components of it public a few weeks ago. A staggering $2 million US was already spent from this program, largely for the payment of expenditure, including salaries and wages, rental and costs associated with accommodation. A bill came to this House in 2017 to establish a law reform commission. Under this project, 3 years hence, not a single commissioner was appointed, but the rental payment of staff and other costs for this phantom commission total approximately $98.3 million Guyana dollars without a single output. This is squandermania at its best. Aspects of the project are now under review. Adjustments are likely to be made, and the project is now being fully implemented. The Law Reform Commission Act will be amended to make the commission broad-based. Currently, under the Act, the Minister and the President appoints the entire commission without any consultation. The amendments will ensure that the appointments are made from nominees from the private sector commission, the labor movement, the religious organization, the legal profession, and organizations representing rights and consumer protection. A government building has already been secured to house the commission free of cost, saving taxpayers immediately $850,000 a month, which was squandered as rent for the past 3 years. One area in which there was great activity in the Attorney General chambers was in the area of hiring special prosecutors and retaining lawyers, both locally and across the Caribbean, to represent the government as well as private individuals in a series of political litigation, all of which were completely without merit and all of which they eventually lost. Dozens of invoices cannot be found for lawyers retained during this melee of madness, that's a 5-month period, when a series of disgraceful and useless cases were filed in an effort to get the judiciary to conspire with the rigging cabal at Congress Place to pervert democracy. A special audit is currently being undertaken by the Auditor General's office in relation to these expenditures. But from the invoice that were found, the Attorney General office paid the staggering sum of $146,099,180 Guyana dollars from 2017 to 2020 with lawyers. This carnage of taxpayers' dollars will be halted under this administration. Another agency that has a parasitic effect on the Treasury is the SARA, the State Asset Recovery Agency. It has not recovered a single piece of state asset since its formation 4 years ago. It is illegally constituted, with the director and deputy director never being appointed by this honorable house, as is mandated by the SARA Act. Yet these two officers were allowed to draw salaries at a rate of $1,700,000 Guyana dollars respectively per month, with gratuity and benefits for the past 4 years. These two illegal appointees alone carted off from the Treasury over $100 million in emoluments over the period and other benefits. All that this unit has done since its existence was to file a few cases in respect of plots of land sold by the PVPC administration at market value. It also filed proceedings against a leading commercial bank for a plot of land purchased from the state over a decade ago, upon which the bank has constructed a multi-million US dollars headquarters. In one ruling, the High Court has made it clear that all the proceedings filed by Sarah are defective and will fail. So in short, this unit has accomplished nothing but has plundered from the treasury in salaries, rental and operational costs approximately 1 billion Guyana dollars over this period. Our government will remove this humongous burden from the backs of taxpayers by shutting down this unit shortly. Some of the staff will be absorbed by the various agencies of state. With renewed visionary leadership, this ministry has already reoriented itself on a new course and has a packed legislative agenda which will begin to unfold just after the budget debates are concluded. Many initiatives will be implemented in collaboration with the Deeds and Commercial Registry Authority, which will modernize and bring greater efficiency to the functioning of this agency. Important measures will be implemented in collaboration with the judiciary that will produce greater speed in the justice system. This will include additional judges appointed on the new Judicial Service Commission, soon to be appointed. Guyana AML CFT structure will remain under constant review. Focus will be directed to the area of enforcement. In this regard, the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, will be transformed from a political witch hunting unit to the investigative and enforcing arm of the AML CFT structure. The $8 million US IDB support justice program is being adjusted in collaboration with the bank, and from which many initiatives will flow. This includes the launch of a new program at the University of Guyana to train LLB graduates as well as police and to place them as prosecutors in the magistrates court right across Guyana. This singular initiative ought to transform the quality of legal representation that the victim of crimes and the state receive at the magistrates court where all criminal charges begin. Thus far, nearly 50 LLB graduates have signaled their intention and their interest to join the program. The ministry, in further partnership with the Guyana Police Force and with the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, have already begun to use project funds to improve the prosecutorial capabilities of the police and the DPP chambers by donating huge quantity of office furniture, office equipment, furnishings, computers, printers, legal texts, etc. This initiative will continue. Guidelines will be formulated in relation to pretrial detention, non-custodial measures, rehabilitation program for drug users, and restorative justice programs will be launched. The ministry will partner with other agencies in the government to strengthen probation services, legal aid services, community service programs and trainings, sentencing guidelines, and a series of legislative initiatives, all designed to keep young offenders from custodial detention. In terms of a legislative agenda, a bail bill, a hire purchase bill, an arbitration bill, amendments to the Companies Act, and a series of legislation for the petroleum industries and various other sectors are already work in progress. Additionally, there is a provision in the budget of 25 million for capital works that will commence on the ministry's main building. This project is to complete a two-storied expansion of the ministry's main building to provide badly needed physical space to accommodate existing and new staff as the ministry continues to grow. These are only activities for the next 4 months. The 2021 budget will unfold the other plans. Before I conclude, Mr. Speaker, there are a few issues that I would like to speak on. Firstly, constitutional reform. This is a platform promise of the People's Progressive Party in our manifesto and referred to in our budget. We only have 4 months left, but the work will begin. We will begin at the level of right here in the House, Mr. Speaker, where the discussions and the modalities will be worked out through the Standing Committee on Constitutional Reform. But let me say what our concept is. Our approach to constitutional reform will not be government-driven. It will be government in partnership with the parliamentary opposition, in partnership with civil society, in a multi-stake forum drive. And it will be driven by the people of this country who will be consulted nationally, and then their comments and contributions will be taken on board and examined and analyzed for forward progress. That is how we are going to do constitutional reform. Mr. Speaker, there's another area that is important. Another campaign promise that we made is to overhaul our electoral system as far as possible. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Legal Affairs will spearhead this reform, including legislative reform to our electoral process to make it stronger, more transparent, more accountable, and to ensure that it is manned by persons of high integrity and of professional ethics, so as to prevent the electoral machinery from being hijacked by political fraudsters who cannot win government through the will of the people. Mr. Speaker, what happened in our country in relation to the 2020 election, any of us who are loyal to this country and who love this country will never want to see a reoccurrence of that. And let us pledge here in the National Assembly that we will strengthen our electoral process so that the will of the people will eventually prevail in the end. There is silence on the other side. Silence on the other side. Mr. Speaker, His
Honorable
Excellency...
member, since you're begging for some noise, let's also beg for some time. Could someone move that you be given an extension to conclude?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask that the honourable colleague be given time to conclude. 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance.
Mr.
Honorable
Speaker.
Attorney General, you may continue.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency has already pledged to the people of this country that a commission of inquiry of high quality will be established to investigate the horrendous tragedy that occurred at Region 5 over the past 3 weeks. And Mr. Speaker, once instructed, the legal ministry will spearhead that initiative. And it is being assured here that international jurists will be recruited and the highest quality of investigators are going to come to work along with the commission so that we can get to the bottom of what happened to those unfortunate souls in West Coast Berbice. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to refer to some statements made by the honorable members on the other side. Several of them said how great Mr. Jordan, the honorable member, how great was his stewardship of the economy, how great he managed the economy over the past 4 or 5 years. And every time I hear the gentleman's name, I look around and I don't see him. Where is Mr. Jordan? He performed so well. He performed so well, and you replaced him with Sheriff Duncan. Oh my. Mr. Speaker, also they have said that the budget is their budget.
Honorable member, I don't know Sheriff Duncan. I know the honorable member,
sir.
Sheriff Duncan.
The honorable member. The honorable member said, sir, that we copied from their budget. And then at the same time, they're saying that the budget has nothing, it provides nothing new. So, and it is a private sector budget. Mr. Speaker, it's the same narrative we heard during the election. They won the elections, then the elections were fraudulent. They won the election in the morning, in the afternoon, the elections were fraudulent. It's a budget with zero thing in it, but it's their budget. That is the kind of incompetent narrative, Mr. Speaker. Even in the House, they can't construct a competent narrative that makes sense. Mr. Speaker, they say that the budget doesn't provide for poor people, and the budget does not provide for the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, with the removal of taxes alone, from the time the Appropriation Act is passed, from the time those legislative measures are assented to, what will be unleashed in the pockets of the people of this country as disposable income from those measures alone is over $50 billion, Mr. Speaker. How can you come here and say that the budget has nothing for anybody? There is removal of VAT from water, removal of VAT from electricity, removal of VAT from agriculture equipment, removal of VAT from capital equipment, removal of VAT from cell phone, removal of VAT from all educational equipment, removal of VAT. Look, I mean, I can go on, Mr. Speaker, the reversal of land taxes and rents alone from the MMA. From the MMA are billions and billions of dollars that would be available to the rice farmers. How can you want to be taken seriously if those are the criticisms that you're going to mount against the budget? I have a responsibility to make you sound good, to make you look good, because you are members of this house. I hold collective responsibilities for you, and I don't want you to sound so false, so farcical. So please, Mr. Speaker, as I commend the budget to them, as I commend the budget to the House, I hope that they absorb some of my advice. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable